Yes, I know.
Yeah, you don't got one. Yeah. No, I know. Well, I would expect this for the program. At least give it yes. Right. True.
Pretty much everything. Like, you don't see me. You don't see me. You sit in the midst. I say, you look big, you know. So I go in, I pass out of her. See there, you know, right here. I sit right on in the back. That's it. Huh? So, that's me.
All right, good evening, everyone. We do have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the board meeting at 7:03. Can we please call the roll?
Trustee Sanchez.
Present.
Trustee Reyes-Plummer. Here. Trustee Jones. Trustee Viper. Trustee Peppers.
Here.
Trustee Brandon. Maywood.
Here. All right, good evening, everyone. So next on the agenda item, we're going to do an invocation. So, all right, I'll go ahead and open up the prayer and then we'll do the pledge of allegiance. All hands bowed. Father God, thank you for this moment of coming together to move Maywood forward together. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve the community of the village of Maywood to make a prosperous future for us all. Let this meeting be productive. Let all satanic spirits be removed. Let everything that is meant to block progress in the village of Maywood be moved out of this room immediately. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. 5, approval of the minutes for special board meetings of the Board of Trustees for January 18th, 2022, and Wednesday, January 26th, 2022. Motion approved.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Sanchez, second by Trustee Reyes-Plummer. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Plummer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones. Trustee Viper. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon. Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. 6, oaths, reports, proclamations, and announcements and appointments. None. 7, finance management reports. 7A, the Village of Maywood proposed fiscal year 2022 budget amendments. And 7B, discussion concerning the Village of Maywood open invoices, February report in the amount of $1,082,912.49. Director Sanchez.
So it appears the agenda item that I for you present is the financials for January 31st. And it did have just a summary of the budget amendment, just for you to compare with the actual financials. The amendment that was approved ended December 31st, but wasn't in there to show you the variances from this report. So pretty much just in my cover, I was just explaining that we're at about 76% of the budget after 9 months, and what the collections are and the expenses. So ultimately, based on this is why we, presented to you the budget amendment, which was just recently approved. And so for your review is the financials for January with the amendment. So if there were any lines that were over, you can see that they were already amended. And next month, with February, I'll have them, together for this review. But if you had an opportunity, if you have any questions, then I can ask those for you.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Director Sanchez. All right. 8, public comment.
Ms. Anthony Sharp.
Good evening. My name is Chris Anthony Sharp, and I have a complaint, but I don't have a complaint because Mr. Duncan has really been trying to get that house in the back end taken care of. What I'm complaining about is he's gotten on the people. The debris is still in the back. They closed the house in the back so that I couldn't see the people that go in there at night and do their whatever. The sides and the front, nothing is done to it. But when I see them working, I send a picture to Mr. Duncan so that he can see that they're working, even though they put a sign up that says for them to stop working. But what's going on is they haven't moved forward in 2 weeks. They haven't gotten the debris out of the backyard. Everything is crawling under. You can see the mice and the rats and whatever. But Mr. Duncan has actually, I'm saying this for real, he's been really on top of getting something done. He can't make the people do anything. But you know what? Since it's been a while, I'm going to ask this question. Can we tear the house down since they're not moving forward? I told you this was going to happen before it ever happened. I said they're going to take a break like they're really going to do a job on the house. But they haven't done anything. They've done a stop. Like I said, the back, you think it was a brand new thing. They didn't even take all the rotten wood out. They just nailed over it. I know, because I know how to do that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, he really did his job. So I'm thankful for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rita Tester.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm here to ask, who can I work with or contact regarding the speeding, oversized trucks traveling along the 25th Avenue route from Lexington south? I've contacted the state, and they referred me to the village of Broadview, Westchester. The problem is primarily in our area. My home, where my walkway and my stairs, I've replaced them twice in its entirety from 2019 to 2020. That is unacceptable. The traffic, they speed, but the trucks are so overloaded that that's what's causing some of our homes to shift. I also contacted the village this winter because even when we're shoveling the snow, the trucks come back and throw some snow right back on their sidewalks. If they were just to curb the blades and clear out the driveways, just the entrance, that would be helpful because the snow is so heavy for most of the people on my street. They are seniors, and that is really problematic, and they've been there for several years. Now, we did have that done a few years ago. It was actually when I was in office, they did it a couple of times. I paid the rate to have them come by and do it, and that wasn't consistent. But I just need to know who can I work with to address these particular problems, specifically with the oversized speeding trucks. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
That is it for public comment.
So, Ms. Anthony Sharp, I'm glad that Director Duncan has been in communication and letting you know everything that's going on. Looking forward to more reports and updates from him in regards to making sure that if any work is being done, it's actually approved and it's actually permitted. And looking forward to if that building is going to be torn down, it gets torn down. If they're going to do renovations, they do the renovations, but ensuring that Director Duncan is making sure that everything is being taken care of and he continues to communicate with you. Ms. Esther, I've been in your house and I felt the shakes when I was in your house. So I'm trying to have conversations with Broadview and IDOT in regards to what to do about 25th Avenue because I have been in your house and I was shaking. So I will have an update with you after that. All right. So that completes public comment. All right. 9A, discussion on resolution to support tax increment financing. So board, you all have the overall update in regards to where we are with the TIF districts, and there's a resolution in regards to support of the TIF. So this is the action item later in the meeting. So if anybody have any questions about it? All right. So we will move to 9B, status report and photo slideshow of active economic development and projects in the village of Maywood. Mr. Savage, if you would be so kind as to pull that up.
All right, so these are just slides in regards to showcasing things that are positively happening in the village of Maywood. First slide is just showcasing Maywood, but the second slide showcases the project at the Old Baptist Home. So myself, village manager, Director Duncan, as well as our Director for Community Development, went and did a tour of a facility. They have been doing great process and projects in regards to it. They're on project timeline with their project. What we're focusing on is during the month of March, 2 different community meetings. The one community meeting on March 20th, they will be at our jobs fair because they are hiring for different positions and they would like to hire as local as possible. So there will be positions available that Sunday, March 20th, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. And they will also be rolling out a community meeting in regards to the application process for going to the facilities. So there'll be about 100 units, and those are units that will more so, I look at them as like kind of a dorm type energy where there's 3 times a day you'll receive meals in the cafeteria. There'll be a library, there'll be health physicians on site, there'll be a retail shop, there'll be a salon for you to get your hair done or your hair cut. So they are on project to be done before the end of the summer, but actually applications as well as applications for jobs will be presented during the month of March. So look out for details in regards to that. Next slide is focusing in regards to more development happening. So Kingston Market, Caribbean and African American grocery store, they moved out of a smaller location into a larger location where they now have the ability to have more grocery options. They have more fresh produce. They have actually yesterday, they launched their kitchen. So they actually cook food now and serve food out of the restaurant. It's a restaurant and grocery store as well. And then they'll be launching soon a smoothie shop that has healthy food drink options as well. So that's at the 1300 block of South 5th. So if you have not tried them out, I've been there multiple times. Make sure that you go and support Philip and Ginger. So the next one is Allure Hair Studios. So Allure Hair Studios did an opening a couple of weeks ago right on the 900 block, 914 South 5th Avenue, where they have, it's a hair salon as well as a barbershop. So there'll be 2 barbers and 8 hairstylists, and then there'll also be what's the name? The person who does the eyebrows. Eyebrow. So I'm gonna take it from the eyebrow and esthetician. That's what I'm like. I knew it was a word. All right. But no. So they have broken ground. They've opened, and looking forward to great progress from them as well. The gentleman who opened it, Gerard, he looks forward to actually expanding to buying the entire building instead of leasing it, and his goal is to actually open up a beauty salon, beauty shop next door, so that they can buy products at the same time as getting styling done. So I just want to showcase every month a different economic opportunity that's happening in the village of Maywood to show that we are on a positive route. That being said, that's all. All right. So proclamation acknowledging Women's History Month. So we have proclamation opened up. We'll go ahead and just read it into the record for everyone. Each year, Women's History Month offers an important opportunity for us to shine a light on the extraordinary legacy of trailblazing American women and girls who have built, shaped, and improved our nation. Throughout American history, women and girls have made vital contributions, often in the face of discrimination and undue hardship. Courageous women marched for and won the right to vote, campaigned against injustice, shattered countless barriers, and expanded the possibilities of American life. Our history is also replete with examples of the unfailing bravery and grit of women in American history, particularly in times of crisis and emergency. Women served on our nation during World War II, led organizing and litigation efforts during the Civil Rights Movement, and represented the United States on a global stage in the fight for human rights, peace, and security. Far too often, their heroic efforts and their stories have gone untold, especially the millions of Black women, immigrant women, and others from the diverse communities who have strengthened America across every generation. In our current moment of crisis, Women continue to lead from vacancies, vaccine researching, to the public health officials, and countless thrones of frontline women and working around the clock to defeat COVID-19. Women, and particularly women of color, also make up the majority of the America's essential workers, including educators and child care providers, grocery store workers, farm workers, and others who are keeping our American community and country afloat. In 2021, marked a historic milestone of the women's leadership and 33 years in the making, with the inauguration of America's first African-American Vice President, Kamala Harris. As we celebrate the contribution and progress of women and girls, we must often reflect the extraordinary and unequal burdens that continue to bear today. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated barriers and has held Black women, particularly women of color, for generations. Gender and racial disparities in pay continue to fester. A disproportionate share of caregiving continues to fall on the shoulders of women and girls, and now jobs losses due to the COVID-19 have women set labor force participation back to its lowest point in more than 30 years, threatening the security and well-being of women and their families and imperiling the economic progress of our entire nation. The share of mothers who have led their labor force is 3 times that of the father. In September 22, an astonishing 865,000 women dropped out of the American workforce. These trends are even more dire among women and women of color, with Black and Hispanic women facing disproportionately high rates of unemployment. At the same time, food insecurity has risen dramatically since the pandemic began, particularly in female-headed households with children, as have reports in intimate partner violence. 60 years ago, when one former First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, confronted President John F. Kennedy and the lack of women in government, he appointed her as head of the new commission to address women and the status in America and to take on discrimination in all of its forms. We have the significant progress in the United States thanks to the persistent and tireless work of countless women. I'm proud to announce that we have the first Puerto Rican woman to serve as trustee, Ms. Trustee Siobhan Reyes Plummer. Proud that we have our first Black woman as village manager, Ms. Chassie Wells Armstrong. Proud that we have our village clerk, Jawan Diane Williams. Director of Finance, Lanye Sanchel. We had our Director of Community Development and Leader of Community Relations. Our administration is also committed to ensuring that women are well represented on all levels in the village of Maywood. Already we have selected several women who represent the diversity of Maywood to serve as commissioners. During Women's History Month, let us honor and accomplish the visionary women who have helped build our country, including those whose contributions have not been adequately recognized and celebrated. And let us contribute to the trailblazers from the recent and distant past for daring to envision a future which no past president existed, and building our nation of endless responsibilities and possibilities for all women and girls. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Nathaniel George Booker, present for the President for the Village of Maywood to be by virtue and authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the Village of Maywood, do hereby represent proclaim March 2020 as Women's History Month. I call upon all Maywoodians to observe the month to celebrate the International Women's Day on March 8th, and with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. I also invite Maywoodians to visit womenshistorymonth.gov to learn more about the vital contribution of women to our nation's history. In witness thereof, I hereunto set forth this day, March in the year of 2022, of an independence of the United States of America and the Village of Maywood for Women's History Month. Also want to acknowledge that March 19th, the Maywood Park District will be having their Women's Leadership Conference. So we will be celebrating all women within the Village of Maywood, past and present, at that event. If you all would like to attend, you can go to the Maywood Park District website at www.maywoodparkdistrict.org to join into their celebration.
For the women, right?
For the women. 9D is Historic Preservation Commission reenactment. So you guys have the attachment just showcasing that this is an event that takes place every year. Just acknowledging that they would like to participate and have this event take place on May 14th, 2022. So each year they just come before the board to make sure that they can host the event on the land of the village of Maywood. Would anybody be opposed to that? All right, so we'll get that approved and move on with that. All right, 9E, the Answer Incorporated Walkathon for March 7th. You all have the Answer Walkathon package for 2022. This year there is Team Maywood that will be focusing on partnering and working with the Walkathon of the Answer Incorporated to raise funds. The Answer Incorporated is an organization that focuses on special needs, specifically those with autism. So their walkathon will be taking place on May 7th, and that event will be at Proviso West High School. So it'll be in the field house. The ceremonies, registration will start at 11 a.m. The opening ceremonies will be at 11:30, and then the walk will take place at 12 p.m. So this information is in the board packet just to showcase supporting that event and making sure if you've got time to please show up and show up for those with special needs or any of assistance. All right, we got 9F, Village Pride, Village-wide, April 30th, 2022. So you all see on the board packet on April 30th of 2022, we will be celebrating the kickoff of Village Pride, Village-wide. Village Pride, Village-wide was started by one of our residents, Miss Loretta Robinson, I apologize. So Miss Loretta Robinson kicked off Village Pride, Village-wide a couple of years ago. She asked me to take on the mantle so that we could move forward with the Village Pride, Village-wide initiative. So if you would like to register, you can go to bit.ly, VPVW 2022. If you would like to be a sponsor for Village Pride, Village-wide, we'll be accepting contributions and donations directly to the Village of the Maywood Park District. So you can make those checks out to the Maywood Park District and mail them to 921 South 9th Avenue, Maywood, Illinois. So silver sponsorship is $250, gold sponsorship is $500, diamond sponsorship is $1,000. Contributions will go towards marketing, which are banners, yard signs, flyers, and printing. Also go towards bags, flower seeds, plants, soil, compost, and mulch. It'll also go towards t-shirts, water, painting, tents, tables, chairs, and tools and gloves, and event day celebrations. So Village Pride, Village-wide for the opportunity to come out in the Village of Maywood and participate in regards to cleaning up various areas, do different community projects. Last year we participated in going to 19 different areas throughout town to make sure that they were clean. We did some painting, there's some murals, but multiple different projects to just showcase pride from the community. And then it kicks off a summer series of various pride initiatives. So if you guys have not signed up, again, that's bit.ly /VPVW 2022. 9G is updated Maywood community calendar. This is just providing an update. The last time the community calendar was provided, I believe, was November of last year. So it's just showcasing more activities that are going on in the Village of Maywood so that people can mark their calendar and make sure if you're available to attend, so please make sure that you do so. 9H, discussion on the Maywood Park District Management Agreement to Fred Hampton Aquatic Center. So with this process, we're looking at in 2019 and 2020, there were agreements set forth or drafted by our attorneys with the Village of Maywood and the Maywood Park District to do an agreement process. What we're looking for today is just an acknowledgement of management of the facilities. Right now, we are near the summer. We have the opportunity to potentially open the pool again for this summer. We would need to do a feasibility study. The Maywood Park District would have to do that feasibility study. They have two companies that are ready and able to do that feasibility study and provide us a quote on what it would take to actually have the Park District be able to open and manage the pool for this summer for the Village of Maywood. We are not looking at any other financials to be spent right now. There is no financial cost to do the actual assessment to find out what it would take for us to say either we can open the pool or we cannot open the pool. There's also the opportunity of looking at, right now, we do have some funding from the state to renovate the pool currently, but then there's also discussion from the state to actually build a brand new pool. So
with that feasibility aspect of it, we'd definitely like to give management to the Maywood Park District as well to come back and provide us best recommendation on once they've done the assessment, if the pool can be open this year, and then provide the assessment in regards to if we were to renovate the pool or if we were to build a new pool, what that would look like under the management of the park district. So really, the agreements are there, but looking at it from where we are right now, it's just asking for management for them to do the assessment to come back with the proposal.
Mayor.
Trustee Brandon.
I guess I'm confused again, because we talked about this. We had several conversations on this matter. And it appears like, I don't know if we're trying to go around, circumvent, or what the process is, or what's happening, or if someone else is confused on the directions that we're given pertaining to this particular item. And so this is before us again, as if we did not have any communication, as if we did not provide any clear direction as to what route we were going to take with this particular item. And so, and this is really for the village manager, because I'm just trying to get some understanding. That's who I'm looking for a report from when it pertains to this item. This board gave clear direction to Manager Chastity Wells Armstrong to look into 2 items. The first was, well, several items actually. The village of Maywood should know what the current status of that pool is, because it's a village of Maywood property. We should have our folks, our engineers, and the folks who are capable of doing the work to get an understanding for ourselves and not leave that up to another governing body to report to us. We should know the status and the condition of the pool for ourselves. So that's the first step. So that's what I was looking for, to hear from the manager what the current status was, because those were clear instructions that were given. The second thing we talked about, and I did know that she did reach out to the YMCA in regards to what their ability to, or their space to operate the pool. So look to see if there was some response pertaining to what their response was from Mr. Jimenez over at the YMCA. And there were some questions pertaining to, I know, and I sat down and I had a conversation with the executive director of the Maywood Park District not too long ago about the cost, which was in their proposal, which was over $100,000 to operate the pool. And so my concern was, when I sat down with the executive director for the park district, was their request, that their financial request, which was over $100,000 for them to operate the pool. That's what my concern was. So really, just to bring it all home, I was looking for a response from Manager Chastity Wells Armstrong, going back to what the status and the condition of the pool is. Because the village of Maywood should know where the property stands for the village of Maywood sake. And then the other thing is the feedback from those 2 entities. So I know that we were waiting on some information to come from the park district, and then we were waiting on a response from Philip Jimenez from the YMCA. So anything that pertains to operations, I'm really looking for folks who are in operations to provide feedback on these areas, and folks who the village of Maywood has designated in these respective roles. So when it relates to the conditions of the pool, I'm looking for someone from Hancock Engineering or someone from that source to be able to provide the information to Chastity Wells Armstrong, or to be able to come in front of this board and provide it to us collectively, not to leave it up to another governing body. So those concerns are for, again, Chastity, the Manager Chastity Wells Armstrong to answer so that we are operating under the right form of government.
Okay. So in the thought process of operating under the right form of government, the reality is, the last time we had the conversation was to reach out to YMCA and see what their appetite was when they walked away from the agreement of pool management. When she has reached out to that, so I'll let her speak in a moment. The other reality that we have to look at is the Village of Maywood, as a referendum, as residents, did a referendum in 2007 to get away from Parks and Recreation. The pool is Parks and Recreation. They have the management agreement in regards to our recreation facility. That's the old Boys and Girls Club. They operate as a park district where when we look at not even until the late 1980s, where we had 4 different governing bodies of park district. So when you say we need to have our Hancock Engineering look at it, well, Hancock Engineering are not facilitators, nor are they approved to work and give assessments for the pool. So when you have the park district that actually has relationships as a certified aquatic center operator, which the Village of Maywood is not, to do the assessments, that's why we're looking to them to partner with us to actually assess what are the needs of the park district, of the pool. When you look at how we've operated in the past, we would have an individual from building and code to be taken away from their duties to manage a pool, which means for the summer, we're limiting our staff in a different department just to operate the pool. We have a certified entity in the Village of Maywood called the Maywood Park District to run recreation and parks. So the conversation that we're having right now is not about a monthly fee, is not about hiring staff right now. It's to have the certified entity that the community voted to be Park and Recreation for the Village of Maywood to give an assessment at no cost to the Village of Maywood of what it would take if we were going to have the pool operating this year. While I understand that your desire, not this board's desire as a whole, was to see the feasibility of the YMCA, the village manager does have a meeting coming up with the director of the YMCA, and with that conversation, she'll be able to give a report back. Realistically, the Village of Maywood has a park and recreation department that are certified aquatic center operators. So it is definitely my desire for the Maywood Park District, that is our governing body partner, to run the Park and Recreation Aquatic Center facility. But in order for us to even discuss the possibility of it, we have to do the assessment. And in doing the assessment at no cost to the Village of Maywood seems to be something very fair to do versus us paying Hancock to hire a third-party company to do an aquatic center assessment, because Hancock Engineering would not be the ones doing that assessment. That's all.
Excuse me, I have something, a statement on behalf of Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Okay.
Again, I thought my question was to the village manager, and I was very specific in mentioning Chastity Wells Armstrong, because that's exactly what I'm looking to hear from in regards to anything pertaining to operations. In regards to anything pertaining to direction that was given, not just by me, by this board as well, that you agreed with. See, we put all these things in place, and we just switch at a drop of a dime, and we just throwing stuff just out there and not operating on the perimeters that we set. We collectively, not just Isaiah Brandon, this board was in agreement with having the manager to look into those matters and having whoever it is to get an understanding where the conditions at was with the pool for the Village of Maywood's sake, and just for us to do our own due diligence in the house, because that's how we should be operating. Regardless of what property is, we should know what the status of that particular property is, because it's the Village of Maywood. Not leave it up to someone else to figure out. And again, these are operational, matters. So I'm looking for somebody who was running that day-to-day operations to respond to these questions, not, with all due respect, not you, Mayor, because that is sending some signals in my head of, okay, so who was the village manager? So again, the response, the question was to Chastity Wells Armstrong, and I'm looking for a response from the manager who runs the day-to-day, I believe, operation of the village. Thank you so much.
So we'll say Village Manager Wells Armstrong, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. So I did reach out to Hancock Engineering, and Bill Peter Hansen, our village engineer, confirmed that they do not have the certifications to address the pool. I gave that update to the mayor. The mayor directed me to work with the park district, and my understanding is that assessment is being provided for free and that they are certified to do so. The board has not authorized for an outside vendor to provide an assessment, and as we are working on a time frame to attempt to get the pool open by summer, that was the direction I was given from the mayor. In regard to Oak Park YMCA, I did reach out to the executive director a couple of times. We are scheduled to meet this Friday on March 4th. Once I meet with him, I will provide an update to the board. I do provide weekly updates to this board, so, you know, be on the lookout for those as well.
So with that being said, would this board be in agreement to enter into a management agreement with the Park District to manage the Fred Hampton Aquatic Center so that we can see the feasibility in regards to opening for this summer, so that we can see what it would be like to do a renovation of the current pool or a redevelopment of a brand new pool, with everybody being in agreement with that to be drafted by our attorneys as a management agreement to look at our next board meeting. Would anybody be opposed to that? Okay.
Well, yeah, for the record, it will be another on the record. I definitely would be opposed to that because I haven't received the information that was asked for in regards to this item. And the conversation hasn't even happened. The manager has stated that there's a meeting scheduled for the 4th. Why would we proceed in a manner to have documents drafted up that we have to review or assess what can potentially or possibly come from the WAP in regards to their willingness to operate the pool. So I just see this again as just cramming stuff through. It looked like there's a precedent that's been set with how we operate, because we had a conversation on this matter. It was communicated. We all were engaged in the conversation and all in agreement with what our expectations were from the manager and what we was expecting that to be to assess and review before we move forward with this. But go ahead.
Okay, so with that being said, other trustees, would everybody be comfortable with the attorneys drafting a management agreement so that we can see what that would look like and how to move forward best to make sure that if it is possible to open the pool this summer, that we are doing our due diligence to do so? Would anybody else be opposed to that?
I do not oppose.
All right, so we will go ahead and have our attorneys draft the documents in regards to a management agreement for the pool, feasibility aspect of opening for this summer, as well as what it would look like to possibly renovate the current pool or develop a brand new pool. All right, so that takes us to 10.
Excuse me, am I gonna be able
I'm
to
sorry.
make a statement in regards to the pool? I
So
didn't get an
you're on
opportunity.
behalf of Fred, you're
I did not get an
Chairman Fred.
opportunity during the public comments, so I'll be, can I make a
Gotcha.
statement?
So I'm gonna let you give the comment because I
Thank
do know Chairman Fred reached out. But just so you know, realistically, to make public comment, you have to be here to sign up for public comment. But
This is my
understand,
second time here
I
in the
got you.
last 2
I
weeks, and every
know.
time I come in, y'all say public comment is over, and you're not allowing me the opportunity to say anything, so
But
I
you have to
appreciate it.
sign up, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But I understand why you're here. I know fully well why you're here. So yes, please make a comment.
On behalf of Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., the Hampton family, the Black Hampton Party Clubs, and Senator Hampton House, as well as descendants of generations that grew up going to the Chairman Fred Hampton Swimming Pool and Aquatic Center. It can't be put into Whereas the positive impact on families to come together at a facility named in honor of an inspiration to Maywood, but also to the world. It also has been heartbreaking to see the chained up, locked down status of the pool even before the climate of coronavirus. To see his son and others continuously calling for the facility that bears his father's name has also been disheartening. The children in specific and community in general are in dire need for the Park District to open back this deeply needed facility. The chairman Fred Hampton Aquatic Center, and that in the spirit of his legacy, the Hampton family be inclusive of the board of this groundbreaking and bringing back this world-known, respected recreational area. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will, again, move forward with making sure that if we get open this summer, it will be awesome. But we have to do the study and feasibility of what that would look like, look at the possibility of what the renovations would look like, as well as what a new development would look like, which will all be in honor of Chair Fred. All right. So 10, Village Manager's Report. 10A, presentation from Impact Networking, LLC, to address IT assessment of the village. Village Manager Will Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Impact team is here tonight. Cody, Ryan, and Jacob. We have been undergoing an assessment for a couple of months here in the village. I want to thank them for coming out tonight. The board has a book in front of you. I think it's about 100 or so pages. It's a lengthy 149. Thank you, Mayor. It's a lengthy assessment. They are not going to go through the book, so I don't want anybody to panic. But they do have a presentation just to really point out their findings and some recommendations that they have. Any proposals will be submitted at a later time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yes, this is traditionally we're going to have a 2-hour presentation. For your sake, we'll cut this down to 15 minutes at most. But we do appreciate you all allowing us to speak today. But throughout this, right, this is our roadmap to the entire network of remediations that we would recommend in order to take you to the next stage from an IT side here. So this means of an end is for us potentially partnering with the village of Maywood to get to that next phase.
This is about moving the village forward, as we spoke before. I think there's a lot of things to go through in this particular document. I kept the PowerPoint to an absolute minimum here. I'm going to skip forward here to kind of walk through some of the methodology as far as our approach to a true deep dive and due diligence type of assessment. And I'll leave the executive summary up here as I kind of continue to move through a lot of the content that I have. If at any point you guys are willing to, I've got some references as far as page numbers you might want to flip to for some visual aid for the trustees as well as members of the board. But really what I want to talk about here is kind of this executive summary. So we understand that there are a lot of problems that are plaguing some of the IT issues. And as we go through this, I don't want you guys to look at it as me simply dumping on you guys and pouring out a bunch of frustrations and negativity. This is a reality, and this is a problem, and there's a lot of hard truths here. So one of the big components that I like to start with is talking about technical debt. And what I mean by technical debt is an underinvestment over time that is accumulated to a point now where we're almost at a breaking point. There are a lot of pieces of equipment that are critical to the infrastructure within the organization, within the village, that are hanging on by a thread, quite literally. Network and server infrastructure, as well as the workstations that are accessing a lot of the tools that are provided by those servers, are extremely outdated. A lot of these things are dealing with end-of-life vulnerabilities, end-of-support vulnerabilities, where you would typically see a manufacturer or a vendor such as a Microsoft or a Dell or HP or some of these other names that are continuing to issue security updates, firmware updates, a lot of things that are important to maintaining a security posture that's sound for the underlying constituents that you guys serve. What we're seeing instead is a lot of that technical debt has sort of mounted into a situation where we aren't able to effectively address some of those concerns moving forward. The problems extend beyond just the equipment that's in here. We're talking about some of the building infrastructure deficits. Downstairs in this very building, there's a lot of cabling deficits. There's a lot of antiquated cabling in place that's creating artificial bottlenecks, greatly inhibiting productivity. Overall, a lot of the things that, to Marvin's credit, Mr. Savage, has been able to achieve throughout this process and kind of holding these things together has been nothing short of remarkable. There are a lot of band-aids that have been put in place, and it's reaching the point now where I think there are significant risks to be considered as we move forward with some of these conversations. Overall, I think the do the best that he can, but ultimately, we're counting down the time until that inevitability arrives. Getting into some of the issues that plague this particular building, we know about some occasional flooding. Again, electricity and water don't necessarily mix very well, especially when you combine critical data systems and servers that first responders are relying on. We've talked about a lot of things here, and there's pictures of some of the flood water and some of the high water marks on the lower areas of the actual infrastructure itself. Getting into just best practices overall, talking about wireless infrastructure, having a unified experience no matter which department or which building you're in as you move through fire departments, police departments, village hall, to make sure that there's a consistent experience. What we're not seeing here in terms of life cycle is enough of a change. Typically, servers, workstations, and network equipment is replaced on roughly a 5-year cycle, anywhere from 3 to 6. Obviously, we want to try and get the most bang for our buck and the best value out of the equipment that we have. But warranties are in place, and a lot of these things are put in those positions for a reason. It's because of serviceability and expected life. And we understand that there's a criticality component that's associated with what those devices are doing. What we're seeing as far as Maywood on the server front is we've got servers probably on average about 10 years of age, where we're normally looking at 5. I've got some servers that are as old as 18 and 19 years old. Those servers have recently had a lot of data being moved on to a slightly less old device, but still, prior to the beginning of this engagement, those were actively in duty. Some of the things extend to licensing issues. We've got some servers that are responsible for kind of control of the environment that are running on unauthenticated, unactivated, license-based operating systems. There's a mix of domains. So from a management perspective, a domain is really the means by which you control what users, what personnel, what groups have access to various documents. We have a lot of disparity there because we've got a multitude of domains. Typically, you'll see a single domain that's broken down into different departmental areas so that you can appropriately assign permissions and effectively manage all the information that's going to and through the environment. We've got police officers and some of the systems that they're using shared credentials, making it difficult to ultimately go back and determine who's maybe been able to access things. Getting back to the vulnerability standpoint, a lot of workstations have been repurposed over time. There are a couple of glaring ones that I want to point out. There are 2 former Panasonic Tupperwares that are typically seen in the squad cars that have been repurposed to serve as time clocks in the police department. Both of these devices have been well out of support from Microsoft. One of them is running on Windows XP, which is laden with vulnerabilities. Been out of support from Microsoft since 2014. So that basically means anything that's been a vulnerability that's associated with that operating system is still out there in the wild. Microsoft has said over and above that there's an opportunity to move to a newer operating system. You should have done so by now. The scariest part yet on that is that we're looking at a system that's still connected to the internet. So anytime that would be potentially used to access the outside world, any of those vulnerabilities that are associated can also ultimately lead to a whole lot of issues. One of the other concerns as it relates to sort of exposing those vulnerabilities is the absence of a centralized antivirus or anti-malware type of that solution. So we're looking at if something were to make its way in, there's really nothing standing in its way in the grand scheme of things. Talking about backups is another important thing because backups are kind of the ultimate end-all be-all. If there is an issue that arises to the point where everything has to be restored, right now critical data is being backed up. However, the actual underlying server, the infrastructure, everything that's going on is not necessarily being backed up with it. So in the event of a hardware failure, which again, talking about the age of these servers and some of these devices, we're looking at a significant amount of downtime. And I know when first responders are in charge of a lot of the things that need to occur as it relates to these servers being up and available, that could create issues. That server will have to be replaced or repaired. It will have to be reinstalled likely with the operating system, the applications. You may have to get vendors back involved. We're talking about a significant amount of downtime. Depending on that service, could be really detrimental to the village. Talking a little bit more about communication and the way that organizations get in and out. You guys are using an Office 365 subscription that's provided through GoDaddy, which is typically designed designed for organizations roughly in the 10 to 20 user mark. You guys are operating 3 different email domains, and you have roughly 140 users that have active accounts. It's time to move on to some of the more modernized and more full-fledged aspects of that as well. The other thing that we note is there's no additional spam filtering. Proper security posture is centered around a layered approach. We want to make sure that everywhere along the way we have compensating controls to make sure that if an end user has an opportunity to interact with something, there's another safeguard in place. If somebody gets tricked by a phishing email, we want to make sure that even if they do click the link or download the application that comes with it, that there's tools that may stop that in its tracks, that may stop the link from progressing and getting out into the outside world to then start off a ransomware event. The last thing we want is for an incident to go to breach. One of the last things that I wanted to leave you guys with talks a little bit about awareness. This is a photo taken downstairs. This is actually a switch that's in place that is held up in tension. It's resting on a cardboard box. It is held up by tension on that green wire that you can kind of see the red circle on. That is the single line that is connecting the police department to the phone system. Kind of scary. I felt like I needed to point that out. There's a lot of pictures that are similarly in this vein. If you see in the very back, you can see a dead mouse sitting on a piece of fly paper right between those blue cables at the top of the center of the page. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of opportunity here to move the village forward, and we have the resources and the capabilities that have allowed us through this process to be able to go ahead and identify where some of these issues remain. Last piece, awareness is a really solid topic. So we identified that there's no security awareness training going on an ongoing basis. So we went ahead and pulled some email addresses and ran them through some dark web scans to identify potential compromises. And what this is ultimately going to tell you, and it doesn't necessarily serve as an indictment, however, the complexity involved here is associated with the fact that people are using their Village of Maywood email addresses to log into other sites and services. We know people tend to have this lack of creativity when it comes to generating new passwords. These are the number of breaches that the various addresses have been associated with. What this ultimately means is that if there is password reuse in place, somebody on the dark web from the malicious actor side could easily look at this information and say, hey, there were credentials that were lost in that breach. It's like finding a treasure map and a key to the safe that tells you exactly where everything's at. We're able to walk right in there and say, hey, I know that these guys work with Village of Maywood, so I can go ahead and try to use the same set of credentials that they use on Dropbox or LinkedIn or Zoom and try to basically infiltrate anything I can from the network standpoint. As the roadmap and the keys that became all one. So with that said, try to keep it short and sweet. Our goal was to come back and present the board with some next steps as far as what we were able to do in terms of helping out and moving the entire agenda forward.
Thank you. So we'll refer this over to our Infrastructure and Sustainability Committee to look forward to potential best routes, looking for requests for proposal in regards to how to address all of these things, and we'll certainly like for you guys to provide that feedback and assessment and quotes in regards to how to best move forward.
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have some questions.
Trustee Brandon?
Yes. So I wasn't really shocked by what I saw in this proposal because we had a similar study done back in 2018, 2019. And so I guess my concerns were, I don't know if you guys were able to take a look at that, if there was any progress made or if there was any items that was off the list, I mean, that we were provided then that were completed or fixed from the proposal. Have you guys taken a look at it or have you guys seen it?
Yes, so I have seen that document. I think that document, fell short of a lot of the follow-through aspects. I don't know that there was a whole lot taken beyond those steps. As well as a lot of the substance, I think, of that document did not get into most of the technical detail that this one does. I really think that, as part of our overall process, the assessment is fundamental to our ability to learn how best serve and support and really dig you guys out of this hole. Where I think the other one was more about identifying where things were at a particular time at a very high level.
Mayor, Trustee Sanchez. Needless to say, Russia could definitely most certainly have us. Will you be able to provide a tier for us of, say, an estimated time frame to fix the most, that green wire that, you know, connects our police department to our services? And then have an ultimate goal list of, say, in the future, it'd be great if we had this domain, it'd be great if we had this security level. Can you provide some sort of tier for our committee so that our committee can present to us? And of course, most importantly, how much is it going to cost?
Yeah, that's all going to be basically part of the proposal. We'll have high-level timelines. There's still a significant amount of discovery. As you guys will flip through on some of the pages, there's some pictures of the server racks. The nature of our assessments is to go in and evaluate and investigate. We don't make any changes to the environment during this process. We had a lot of areas where it's very tight to access. There's a lot of old equipment that is sitting around. It's very hard to navigate, and there's a lot of cables laying around the backside. For fear of disrupting something, we weren't able to effectively get back there and really dig in as much as we'd like. So there's going to have to be kind of a cleanup piece that's ongoing associated with a potential new forward plan. But it's my intent to have everything laid out as far as pricing, expected timelines, and ultimately whatever you guys need to do as far as moving things forward as it relates to some of the recabling projects that we mentioned and so forth, to kind of providing direction on all those ones.
But yes, the higher vulnerability stuff, we absolutely take a first approach to that, get that stuff very secure. The Russia stuff, I mean, it's no joke anymore. The cybersecurity piece of things, I mean, it's everybody. It's not even villages, municipalities, it's small, medium, big organizations. So, sure. Yeah, it would be with little resistance.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you all for your time.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. All right, we have 10B, general operational updates. So the board have a memo from Village Manager Will Armstrong in regards to various updates that have taken place within the Village of Maywood. Does anybody have any questions?
Are we talking about the
What's in the memo of updates right now? In the current memo of updates.
okay, well, I had a question about something, but I'll
All right.
ask it offline.
So no questions in regards to the current memo of updates? All right, so then we have 10C, the request for new overhead garage doors at Fire Station number 20 by Chief Brownell. Chief is here. So we have in our board packet an actual memo from Chief, and he will speak in regards to the need and necessity of the doors that we have photos of and can see the age of it in the photos.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Again, just here to ask for this project to move forward. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you have this evening and beyond.
So my only question is, it doesn't state in the memo if this is actually in the budget already.
Yes.
It is in the budget already? Would anybody have any problem moving forward? No. It's in the budget. Let's get some new doors, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So we'll have that anonymous agenda at the next meeting. All right, 11, village attorney report, none. Trustee committee reports, we have 12F from ordinance and policy committee, recommendation of 6-month freeze, moratorium on certain business license. Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
So we, thank you, Mayor. We agreed on the zoning and planning commission will be creating a use table study to include all C districts and putting on, like you mentioned, a 6-month freeze on all businesses, including barbershops, hair salons, nail shops, banquet halls, event spaces, and fast food restaurants.
Does anybody have any questions in regards to the recommendation of the 6-month freeze for the Planning and Zoning Commission to do the assessment within the Village of Maywood?
Um,
Trustee Brandon?
So this is coming from the Planning and Zoning Commission to put a 6-month freeze on restaurants that wants to open in the village, or just coming from the committee?
This is coming from the Ordinance and Policy Committee that the Zoning and Planning Committee will go ahead and make that assessment.
Okay, so you guys committee is making a recommendation to put a halt on business license for 6 months.
Correct.
For those establishments.
For specific business licenses, yes.
And can you expound on like what was the thought process to put a hold on business license for 6 months?
Mayor?
For those, I mean, we're talking about multiple type of businesses here.
That we have to
in
talk
6
about.
months. That's a
Trustee Sanchez?
Well, actually, we were basing it off of your request of feasibility of having another chicken shack when it came up. There was nothing really done. There was no real feasibility of what the community is planned to look for towards the future. Going back to this commission, they can have some sort of feasibility and have a table of, say, the number of fried chicken shacks in comparison to the number of healthier choices, along with the number of beauty salons, barbershops, and every other so business that we so commonly see in the community. That's simply what the goal is, to see how we can entertain bringing other types of businesses into the community, not just barbershops now. We're not putting a moratorium on these businesses forever. This is simply a 6-month freeze so that we can further examine other possibilities.
Mayor?
Trustee Brandon?
Yeah, so I just want to provide some clarity. I definitely did not make a request that we put a moratorium on those types of establishments. So just to give some thought behind this idea. So we have individuals who have storefront units or storefront spaces who are trying to, keep up with these taxes. So when I think about putting a 6-month freeze or hold on multiple type of industries, right, across the board, I'm thinking about those individuals who own these properties, these storefront properties, who are trying to pay these high taxes. I think it makes it more difficult for them to be able to find a tenant to go into these locations. So, and these individuals are in business, to make money. I just don't think it's feasible, or that it makes sense to put all of those industries in like one big category and just say all of these type of industries. Because if I own some property along Fifth Avenue or one of the corridors, and it was once a barbershop or once a restaurant, and another restaurant want to come in, so now what you're telling me is I have to wait 6 months to be able to fill my space with another restaurant or another barbershop or what have you. I just think that more thought needs to go into it and not include all of those industries in it. I just don't think that it's good for the business community or for anyone who has space. And then from the other aspect as well, from the vacancy standpoint of a lot of these vacancies throughout Fifth Avenue or these blighted areas throughout the town, we're putting those things on hold or putting the opportunity to fill those businesses on hold for 6 months while this is taking place as well. I just think that I wouldn't have did a blanket situation like that. I know we've had a lot of conversations about opening up additional chicken type of establishments, but I wouldn't include all of those industries in there. I just think that as people try to recover from this pandemic, from the financial perspective, that we need to give that some more thought. People are, in the space of like bouncing back and recovering. And I just think that this would be, just another layer of like red tape to prevent people from being able to recover, especially in the business community who have been impacted really hard by this pandemic. So I just think, I would hope that my colleagues just would understand my perspective in regards to not putting, additional strain on our business community for 6 months, as we come out of this pandemic, or hopefully come out of this pandemic, to open up, to get going again. I just don't think it makes sense.
So I will say this. Trustee Reyes, one more. I'll give you one more.
That's fine.
But when we look at where we are currently in the village of Maywood, we have more barbershops, more hair salons, and more banquet halls, and more nail shops than any other community in the Proviso Township. So we are not hurting our economic opportunities when we already have more than anybody else in regards to those entities.
Yes, sure.
What I see the Ordinance and Policy Committee trying to do is work with the Planning and Zoning Commission to come back with an actual ordinance that potentially will say you cannot have the same type of salon or same type of barbershop within a certain amount of feet away from each other. You cannot have the same type of business that is right next door to each other. Putting a freeze of 6 months, if they're done quicker than 6 months, then awesome. But acknowledging that we have more than enough of these types of businesses and truly looking at moving the village of Maywood forward to not just have an overflow of the same types of businesses is the energy in which, to me, this is drafted and this represents. It does say in the memo for fast food restaurants, special consideration to be considered in committee. So if there was a restaurant to consider, that will go into the committee to be discussed. But realistically, there is not a single corner in Maywood that does not have a hair salon or barbershop. And we have over, 4, 5, 6 different banquet hall or event space locations? Right, except for Madison. I'm thinking about the meeting place over there, Wintrust. So, making sure that we are not a community of redundancy, I think is what the spirit of this is. So we will come up with a policy based on the assessment that we are challenging Planning and Zoning Commission to complete.
Mayor.
Well.
No, I'm okay. You said exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Mayor.
Trustee Brandon.
And this question is for Attorney Jaruzik. Attorney Jaruzik, when it relates to the location of like similar businesses, for example, barbershops, beauty salons, and things of that nature, isn't there perimeters already in place in the ordinance that states clearly that a barbershop cannot move like within a certain amount of space of an existing barbershop? Isn't that already established in the ordinance?
I'm going to have to review that because I didn't. It's been talked about before, and if we're going to do a moratorium, remember, when we've done this in the past, we have to have a public hearing and we have to adopt an ordinance creating a moratorium. So what we would do out of this meeting, if there's the direction to move forward with putting a moratorium in place, is we publish a notice of public hearing. That public hearing would happen on March 22nd, if that's the time frame that the board's looking at. At the end of that public hearing, that same night on the 22nd, you can adopt an ordinance imposing that 6-month moratorium, and then you'd be able to study all of these things. There is a very, as the mayor said, distance separation between buildings, not buildings, but uses and businesses. That's a common way to avoid clustering and a common way to space things out throughout your community. Those are all things to be evaluated. And, I don't know if we ever imposed that in the past when that was discussed, because there was some discussion of doing that, but I'll take a look at that. And if those type of restrictions are already in place, then that's something that can be evaluated by the Planning and Zoning Committee and the board to determine if it's effective, because right now you do have clustering of these types of uses up and down. Just Avenue when you drive through here. So if that regulation is on the books, it's not being enforced. I just don't recall,
Mayor?
it ever being adopted. Yeah.
Trustee Finches.
So trustee Brandon made a very important question. And one of the main reasons why we wanted to put a freeze on it is because we had the ordinance at our commission. Now, I'm no attorney, but the entire committee reviewed the ordinance, and there is no strict regulation and determination. Now, if you don't want to take my word for it, I completely understand, because like I said, I'm not an attorney, but we did look at the ordinance, and there's nothing of that nature.
I know it's been discussed, I just don't recall it ever being adopted, and if it is in place, it's not being enforced.
Right, our goal is not to not have development continue. Our goal is to rectify ordinances so we have a better comprehensive plan in the future.
Mayor.
Trustee Brandon.
Yeah, so who's from the village end, from economic development, or from the village staff department in that area? Did anyone attend the meeting, or was anyone a part of the meeting?
Sure. So we had Director Smith and we had Natalie with the village planning, President Lee.
Okay, and they were in agreement?
Yes, they were.
Okay, so I would like to see those minutes.
Natalie, were you in agreement? No need to see the minutes. Okay, so realistically, would we be in agreement as a board to move forward with this?
About Natalie.
Well, you were in agreement with this as well, Natalie?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure on record. So
Yes, I am in agreement.
Great. Okay, so with that being said, we would need to have this as a special meeting. We could put this as a special meeting for the board meeting on the 22nd.
During our March 22nd meeting, we would just have a public hearing during that, where you'll consider the ordinance enacting a 6-month moratorium, a freeze on issuing business licenses for these types of businesses. And then within that 6-month period, that you have an obligation to use due diligence and have your planning commission and your trustee committees evaluate this and come back within that 6-month period with a recommendation.
Perfect. Okay, would anybody be opposed to this?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question? I know I'm out of order.
Yeah, you know this.
I know I'm out of order. I know I'm out of order, but I just want to know one thing. Is there anybody from the business community on this committee? I'd like to know that. Because what I'm hearing is you blocking the business community out.
So that's what the actual meeting would be for public
Can
comment?
I come to that meeting?
You absolutely can.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
And
So
Mayor,
would any trustee be opposed from that being on the March 22nd meeting to discuss and have as a public hearing?
you can put me down for, you know what, the conversation's healthy, so you can keep it. I'll support it, the conversation.
So we'll move forward with having that as a part of our March 22nd meeting as a public hearing. All right, so we'll go to 13, new business, a discussion. 13A, discussion and recommendation of resolution approving and authorizing the execution of intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Maywood and Cook County, Illinois for provision of environmental health inspection services, term December 1, 2021 to November 30, 2022, with the attachment as Exhibit A and with the cover memo from Clanton and Jenkins dated February 23rd. So you all see the memo. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the memo and the intergovernmental agreement that's taking place? Okay. 13B, discussion and recommendation of resolution approving and authorizing the execution of amended agreement between the Village of Maywood, Illinois and Property Registration Champions, LLC for assistance with the implementation and enforcement of vacant property and foreclosure property registration program, with the amended agreement attached as Exhibit A and with the cover memo from Clanton and Jenkins dated February 23rd. So you all have the memo before you in regards to the resolution needing to be approved and moving forward. Manager Wills Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the board, because we did have a comment, even though Director Duncan and I met with the company and are in support of the Village adopting it. We did have Sandra Gibson, who gave some feedback about her concerns, and we just want the public to know that the administration takes that feedback seriously, and so talk to Mayor, the board, and the attorney to look into those matters, and that's why the amended agreement is before you tonight. So Attorney Jerusi can highlight a couple of the updates.
Attorney Jerusi.
Yeah, in the packet, you have a red line version of the agreement. Just a couple, only a few minor amendments, but, kind of significant. And what we heard from our resident who was concerned about, some of the language in this kind of template agreement, I was able to get the agreement revised. So instead of this billing and collection process working where the money for the registration fee gets paid to the company and then they remit back the village's portion, the way the payment structure is going to, and the process will work is the village gets paid first, and then the village will remit the fee back to ProChamps, the company. So that's a positive cash flow stream for us. The other item is we just clarified that if this agreement ever terminates, they're actually creating a website to manage this project for you and to do the property registration and the fee payment process. If the agreement terminates, that they immediately will inactivate the website and the link. The village website will have a link to this registration website. So bottom line, agreement terminates at some point in the future, that link becomes deactivated and their registration becomes deactivated. So those are the two kind of very focused amendments. And it's actually on the agenda for approval under our special board meeting later tonight at page 3 on the agenda.
Mayor.
Trustee Brandon.
Yeah, I had a question. So when we last talked about this, and the attorney gave some feedback as it relates to some of the other clients that he deals with, some of his other clients, I guess, utilize this company. One of the things that I kind of highlighted when I was going over the agenda, as I was reflecting on that conversation, is that Attorney Jerusalem had mentioned that he was not a fan of these type of services or this type of program. So I wanted to know if we could have him to elaborate on the why he wasn't a fan of these type of program services.
Speak for yourself, Attorney Jerusi.
Sure. I apologize, Trustee Brennan. I don't believe I ever said that. This business operates in 6 to 8 of our municipal clients around the state. And we operate under the template agreement. So I guess if you look at it from a positive standpoint, we've negotiated a little more favorable agreement for Maywood than other, clients or other clients around the state and any other ProChamps client in Illinois. The change in just the way that the fees get paid first to the village and then the fee goes to ProChamps, they only have that set up in a couple different places out of the East Coast. We're the first Midwest municipality to ask for that and get that. So, I don't have any objection or complaint about their process. They're in 6 to 8 of my other clients, my firm's other clients, and we have reviewed their contracts, from year to year. And I'm not aware of any KTJ's clients being dissatisfied with their services.
No, you didn't say that you were dissatisfied with the service. You were just saying that you wasn't. Okay. Proponent. Okay.
Are there any other questions? All right, so we'll bring this to action and we'll move on to special board meeting. All right, so we are at 13C, discussion and recommendation of resolution of Village of Maywood support of tax increment financing with cover memo from Clanthorpe and Jenkins dated February 23rd, 2022. So we all have the memo in regards to a resolution focusing on our TIF Act contained within the Illinois Municipal Code. Does anybody have any questions in regards to this before we take action at a later meeting, or would Attorney Jerusi?
Yeah, no further comments. This is just, this resolution is coming from the Illinois Municipal There's a piece of a Senate bill that is anti-TIF, and this is directed at, expressing the municipalities' pro-TIF stance. And all the municipalities around the state are being asked to oppose that Senate bill that is anti-TIF Act, and this is the mechanism that you're showing your opposition or support. I'll review it.
Does anybody oppose this? All right, so we'll move forward. Okay. 13D, discussion and recommendation, resolution authorizing the waiver of competitive bid process and approving the authorization of the execution of a contract with Lakeshore Recycling Systems, LLC for the collection and disposal of residential waste, recycling, and certain village-generated waste term April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2027, with a confidential company mode dated February 2022 from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins. We have a video presentation, and we also have the Lakeshore company here to present with us or provide any questions, comments, or concerns that we may have. So if we can roll the video, and we'll roll the video, then we'll answer questions.
Hi, I'm Joe Marquez, Mayor of the City of Darien, and I'm proud to announce a new waste program for the City of Darien. Everything we do at the city level is geared towards improving the life of our residents here in Darien. By now, you should have received a brochure from LRS, our new waste hauler, regarding our recycling. Hi, I'm Joe Marquez, Mayor of the City of Darien, and I'm proud to announce a new waste program for the City of Darien. Everything we do at the city level is geared towards improving the life of our residents here in Darien. By now, you should have received a brochure from LRS, our new waste hauler, regarding our recycling and waste program for the coming 5-year period. The city has selected LRS as your new waste hauler beginning April 1st, 2022. We spend considerable time looking for the best program for our residents, and I want you to know we have full faith and confidence in the new company we selected. There will be no change to your date of pickup, but the time of day that your pickup takes place may change. So please make sure that you have your waste receptacles out by 6 a.m. on the day of your collection. LRS is an independent company, locally established as a domestic recycling company, headquartered in Morton Grove. One of the reasons we selected LRS is because it services many of the other surrounding communities, like the village of Lyle and the city of Wheat. LRS provides other services such as portable washrooms and large containers for building materials if you might be undergoing a construction project. You can learn a lot more about LRS by visiting them on their website, lrsrecycles.com. In the early spring of 2022, each home with a driveway will be serviced by LRS. Each home will receive 1 cart for garbage and 1 for recyclables. These carts will have long handlebars and an attached flip-top lid. The new program also includes unlimited amount of collection for garbage, recyclables, and yard waste. It also accepts certain food scraps mixed in with yard waste during compost season. We're excited to offer an additional bonus in 2022 for 2 opportunities for Darien residents to get rid of electronic waste that isn't accepted with garbage. This is for things like old computers, monitors, TVs, and more. Information on the event will be posted on the LRS Darien webpage under the electronics waste section. Information will also be mailed out to every home and posted on the LRS Darien program webpage in the early spring of 2022 with instructions on how to enroll in the program. The city received proposals from 3 waste service providers, and the sticker program rates nearly tripled, along with the monthly fee sticker users will be required to pay. So it was more expensive than the 2-cart program option selected. Under our new program, we will no longer be using stickers. You'll be able to use these until March 31st, 2022. After March 31st, these stickers will no longer be acknowledged by LRS. Refunds for any unused stickers will be available. At that point, we will say goodbye to our stickers. The standard program includes weekly collection of an unlimited amount of garbage, recycling, and yard waste, plus 1 bulk item every week like a couch or a mattress. The cost for the new program is $20.95 per month. LRS will send an invoice to each home for the service the first month of every quarter. The very first invoice will not go out until May 2022. LRS will make payment options available, such as paperless billing enrollment. If you like auto pay as an option, that will be made available with your first invoice. What I like to do is to demonstrate or show you the 3 carts that will be available to all of our residents. For our senior citizens only, we have a 35-gallon container. For everyone else, we have a selection of a 65 or a 95-gallon for either the garbage or the recyclable cart. A 95-gallon cart holds up to 12 of the 13-gallon kitchen garbage bags, or 6 of the large 30-gallon garbage bags. The other option is a smaller 65-gallon recycle cart, which would hold up to 8 13-gallon bags or 4 30-gallon bags. Now this is the part I'm really excited about. We went looking for a program that would service the needs of our seniors, and LRS gave us that program. As a senior citizen, the 35 is available to me, but I have always opted to go with the 95 because I recycle more, and I may have a party that requires more trash to go out on any given week. For those seniors who are concerned about going from a sticker program to a cart, I'd like you to see the ease at which this is operable. It has wheels, nice sturdy handles that you can push down the driveway. And as you can see, by opening it, it's very easy to open it and put our trash in it. The program includes the garbage and recycle carts, as well as unlimited yard waste and recyclables. Garbage is limited to the smaller size cart capacity, but allows more than the cart can contain, every so often, just not on a frequent basis. Action is required for every property owner in the city of Darien in the form of online enrollment or by calling LRS. And you are scheduled to receive services beginning April 1st, 2022. Forward enrollment is required online by logging onto lrsrecycles.com/Darien. There's a web portal link to the cart selection enrollment located on the upper right-hand side of the web page. Please make sure that when you contact LRS, you let them know your choice for your waste receptacle as well as your recycling receptacle. And seniors are welcome to enroll online using the LRS Senior Enrollment Form, or you can call LRS Customer Service at 844-NEED-LRS. Another change we've made for health and safety reasons is the discontinuation of those little 18-gallon bins without the lids. These are known to be challenging for handicapped and senior citizens, and they're not convenient. They also contribute blowing debris throughout the neighborhood and have often been found in frozen materials in them throughout the winter. With that in mind, the city has made a decision not to allow the 18-gallon bins to be used with the recycle or garbage program as of April 1st, 2022. LRS is not permitted to service them. If you place them out, LRS will assume you want it to be recycled and will take it to be recycled. I know I've presented you with a lot of information today, and I really hope that the information I've given you gives you a great idea of what our new program will be. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to go to the website, lrsrecycles.com. We're excited about this program here at the City of Darien. We really enjoy the process of dealing with LRS and developing what we think is an excellent program for our residents. So thank you for the time you've taken to listen to me today, and best wishes. Thank you very much.
All right, so just to go over this process that we went through, in August we received the information in regards to letting the Village of Maywood know that our contract was up for renewal in regards to Recycle Service, which is the company that we currently have and operate with. At that time, did have a conversation with Recycle Service in regards to showcasing that there was other interest who would like to make a bid to the Village of Maywood. What we did at that time after that was actually give a tour of Lakeshore Recycling. So Lakeshore is right here in the Village of Maywood. They're the former George Strom disposal company. They have been wanting for years to provide an agreement or
get business with the Village of Maywood, but at the time they were not large enough to do so. With that times expanding, them becoming part of Lakeshore, they now have the equipment and the capabilities of providing full service to the Village of Maywood. We actually did a tour of the facilities, myself and Village Manager Wells Armstrong, where we were able to view their recycle, their e-waste, as well as their trash disposal, also their tonnage calculators and a lot of different things. When LRS took over George Strom, they actually expanded their footprint within the community, nearly 3 times as large as it was before in regards to facilities. So they are paying taxes in regards to having their services here in the Village of Maywood and their property here in the Village of Maywood. When we looked at the agreement, we had a meeting with our current vendor, and we asked for their best proposal in regards to showcasing what they could do for the Village of Maywood moving forward in future contracts. And then we had a conversation with Lakeshore to give a presentation to provide their best proposal in regards to moving the Village of Maywood forward. We had that go to our Infrastructure and Sustainability Committee. At the Infrastructure and Sustainability Committee meeting, both entities gave their presentations in regards of best ways to move forward in contractual agreement. Things to note from the Lakeshore and waste collection alone, we would save over $100,000 a year. We would have savings in regards to our waste disposal. We would have a recycling container that is more than 3 times the size of what our current container is. We would be able to have extra carts at $3 a month, where we currently pay $15. They have also provided us a $3,000 a year portable toilet allowance per year, and they will also be sponsoring over 3 different community events. So when we think about the Maywood Fest, or we think about Village 5, Village Wide type entities, they'll be providing services as a sponsorship at no additional cost to the Village of Maywood. So with that being said, Trustee Peppers, from your committee, would you like to say anything?
Their presentation was excellent. We saved plenty of money here in the village, and we're bringing back one of our own.
All right, does anybody have any questions?
Mayor.
Trustee Ranger.
So let me just speak to the process, which I find to be very unprofessional, to say the least, in regards to how we arrived here. So just let me go back in regards to where you started from. So when we learned that, when this board learned that the contract was up a few months ago in March in regards to Republic Service, what should have happened is, if this board wanted to open it up to allow other individuals to participate or submit their proposals, depending on how we felt about the current company, what should have been done is to be transparent and open about what we were doing, is to establish a RFP process because of the amount of the contract. And I know that it's been mentioned that we didn't have to do it, but we should have done it because it's the best practice in regards to the nature of the contract. And so we should have communicated, this board collectively should have communicated to our village staff, village manager or John West, in regards to giving them some direction to take in regards to opening the process up to allow other people to participate. And not have what you call, what I would consider like a Madison and Pulaski type of situation, and communicate with people to say, oh, submit your best proposal. No, you establish parameters with a relation to what should be in a proposal. You don't just have people just submitting stuff willy-nilly. We set the tone for what should be in a proposal, and then they move in that direction based on what we have laid out for them. And so in regard, I don't have a preferred company. I just want what's best for Maywood. But for me, it's all about how we just arrived here and how we have conducted ourselves as a municipality in regards to this entire process. And the other thing is, and we put these things on the table about how things should operate and how to maneuver it, and then we switch up the game. And so it was supposed to go, this item was supposed to go to, or the proposals, because there is a cost factor associated with both proposals. They should have also come to the finance committee, or the fiscal accountability committee as well, to review and assess, and then give feedback to this board as well. But that did not happen, for whatever reason. And so, again, this entire process, I don't have a horse in the race or a company. I just want what's best for the village of Maywood in regards to both. But I'm just speaking to the process of how we arrived here. And it all started, it just appeared to be behind closed doors. This board did not give direction to even go after any company. We had no really dialogue on what we was going to do in regards to this. And now it's just like a pop-up type of situation where we just continue to cram things through without taking it through the process that we all set up. And part of that process, because it has a financial tag on it, a price tag on it, it should have also come through the Fiscal Accountability and Transparency Committee, which it did not, for us to be able to review the two proposals that were submitted by the companies. So again, my sentiments are the way that this was handled on the village's end was highly unprofessional, and again, to say the least, and we have to conduct ourselves in a better manner when dealing with business professionals, because it was a bad light on the village of how we conducted from end to end. And so and that's what, for me, that's what frustrates me in regards to who's driving here, or who's handling this whole ordeal. And you know, it just appears to me that we are, you know, again, freestyling and really don't know, you know, how to properly navigate through these things. And I won't be silent until we can correct this culture that's being created in regards to how these villages operate. And it was unprofessional. The entire setup was unprofessional.
Mayor, excuse me. Mayor,
Call roll.
Wait, no, we're not at that point yet. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'm
Trustee.
finish up. In reference to the communication, when they did their proposals, it was a live Zoom, and everybody who wanted to be there was there. We did go through Director West. He had his hands steady on it because of his background and his experience, and I leaned on his tutelage. We have to understand that the numbers and the presentations, we all had privy to all the contracts, all the proposals. We also communicated with Trustee Jones on the numbers. The other things that you stated, you know, everybody has their own opinion, and I respect your opinion. But as far as doing our due diligence and doing it properly behind the home rule of Maywood, we did do our due diligence. So I turn it over to you.
Yeah, so thank you, Trustee Peppers. I would say realistically, we knew that the contract was up in August, September, right? So from that point in time, yes, we did notify the current contractor that we were looking at another business, which is right here in the village of Maywood. So that's respectful. That's not saying that we were doing anything behind closed doors. They were made aware. We did do a tour of LRS to be respectful and to make sure that we were doing our due diligence. Our Director of Finance has had meetings with them. Our Director of Public Works has had meetings with them. They met with our Infrastructure and Sustainability Committee. They both provided proposals. Myself, our Director of Community Relations, as well as the village manager, has had multiple conversations and meetings with them. So I don't want the narrative to be like we did something that was crazy. Realistically, if you have a potential proposal, one, we most certainly value and respect the relationship that we've had with Recycle Services Republic Services, for 40 years now. But when you can look at an agreement
and see that in one line item, there's over $100,000 in savings, when you can look and see there's a $3 versus $15 fee difference,
Right there.
when you can look and see that line item after line item, the proposal that they're proposing right now is cheaper than what we currently pay to Republic. Whereas Republic's proposal was to increase annually from where they are currently charging us more.
Yep.
Another fact is, nobody on this board, except for you and Trustee Jones, creates the agenda for financial accountability and government transparency. So if you wanted it on your agenda, the only two people that could have made sure that that happened would have been the two of you. This has been with infrastructure for 2 different meetings. They had 2 different meetings with the company that they sat down and had discussions with them. We looked at both companies' proposals. When you look at moving from a small bucket of recycle to 65-gallon recycle, where we can focus more so on being a recycle-friendly community. When you look at the e-waste program, when you look at the in advance partnership and sponsorship in the contract, and when you look at line by line cost savings, when you look at weekly and being able to drop 2 bulk items every single week, not having 2 trash pickup days of bulk items a year, but every single week, 2 bulk items can be picked up at no additional charge. The proposals are here, the presentations have been made, it went through committees, we did tours, we had transparent conversation with Republic Service, we had transparent conversation with LRS, so I don't want you to leave with this narrative that things weren't done properly, because that's just simply not true.
Mayor?
Trustee Sanchez.
Also, it's also very important to realize that they pay taxes here.
Yep.
A lot of money to be here.
Yep, taxes on that.
But if you don't pay for garbage, you don't understand that.
That's right.
And then the other thing to also note is even when you look at waste collection, now that we have the 65-gallon recycle bin versus the little bucket that we had before, we can even look at reducing our cost in waste collection even more because we're focused on recycle, not waste collection. So even though at minimum that one line item is $100,000, we can actually make it bigger than that. And there's also within the contract, within 2 years, to look at even further savings that we can do within the Village of Maywood with more awareness and education. So again, I don't want the narrative or conversation to be since September and August, we have been having these conversations that have now led us to March 1st, where you are expressing how you feel for a contract that ends March 30th. If you wanted it to go to an RFP back in August, September, October, or November, that would have been the time to do that, to say that and express that. But the open transparency of conversation, you even saw in the pictures months ago when we did a tour of LRS, when I showcased LRS as a company that has expanded in the Village of Maywood. So it's not as if we weren't very honest and transparent about this process. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Mayor,
Sounds good to me.
Trustee Brandon.
so let me be clear. Let me be crystal clear. First of all, I'm not even speaking to the companies at all. I'm not even speaking about I'm speaking about the process. And this board never had a conversation when it relates to whether or not or which direction we wanted to go into, or if we felt that we needed to go in a different direction at all. That's what I'm saying. And so, of course, I haven't missed a meeting since I've been on this board. So I'm well aware of all of the conversations that have happened in this chambers. And so what I'm saying, the steps on how we arrived here were not, and I have the communications, I have the emails, and I have reviewed all of the communications pertaining to this matter. And for me, it was just not, the steps that we took, this is not appropriate steps. So, and it was unprofessional from the village of how we conducted ourselves to arrive here and the conversation that was had, and I have the communications that go along with that as well. And so that's what I'm saying. Of course, it makes sense to go with it. If you have a company within your town that's providing a service and it's going to be cheaper. I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to the process that we took to arrive here. That's what I'm speaking to.
Gotcha. So the only thing I'll say to close this topic out is in the previous administration, there was not a thing called committees. In this administration, we have committees. So the process went through committees. If you wanted to come to your committee, you are in full control of your committee's agenda. I have no say at all what goes to your committee for discussion and conversation. If you wanted LRS to come and be present for your committee, you most certainly could have had that coordinated, where Ms. Banks would have made sure that it was on the agenda, and Ms. Banks would have ensured that LRS was available to answer any questions that you might have. So when you say process, I want you to join the current administration and stop thinking of past practice. Because the committees that exist are to vet these types of things. That is exactly what the committees are for. So that we are not at committees of a whole, and so that we are not at board meetings dragging them out with questions, comments, and concerns that could have been answered earlier. So again, I will reiterate, when we looked at this, we also looked at price comparison for LRS now has contracts with Western Springs. We also looked at LaGrange. So again, we looked at contracts, different communities, making sure that we had the best rate possible to be competitive in regards to what's best for the village of Maywood. So again, you have those emails, you have that information. If you wanted to have further discussion on this, I really want you to embrace the committee process, because this can be put on your committee. All right? So with that being said, we have this coming up in our special board meeting. Does anybody else have any questions? We have George Strong, who is here as the Vice President of Municipal Services with LRS, who can answer anything that we may need. George, did you want to make a statement or give any commentary?
Sure.
Sure.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the board. My name is George Strong. I'm the Vice President of Municipal Services for LRS. My family's business has been in Maywood for the past probably over 60 years. Founded 75 years ago. Last year, about 13, 14 months ago, LRS did acquire Roy Strong. So you can probably see now more red and blue trucks in the community because we have two, the LRS trucks and the Roy Strong trucks. And this is something that I'm passionate about, working with the village, because we've been here for so long. I've always worked pretty much in Maywood my entire life. And when I saw the opportunity to present some of the savings that the village actually already had negotiated, back, I think it was around 2007, 2008, when the waste transfer station was open, there was a clause that if any of the waste that was from the municipal contract in Maywood was disposed of at our site, they were guaranteed our internal rate. So that means whatever we're dumping our garbage for at our cost, the village had the right to be given that rate. Unfortunately, it was never taken advantage of. And I really wanted to just let the new administration know that this is an opportunity that they have and they could take advantage of this if they would like to. And it didn't have to be with LRS, it could be with really any vendor that they chose. And obviously with us being located in the village, we felt we could give a compelling case. So I am grateful for the opportunity to just speak in front of you and hopefully partner with you for the long term. I did feel like the opportunity to provide a larger recycling bin for the residents was something that would be really helpful, and provide them with similar services of your surrounding municipalities. So I'm here to answer any questions for you to make sure that you feel comfortable moving forward with us. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Any questions? All right, so we will take voting action on this following this committee as a whole meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right, 13E, discussion and recommendation of ordinance authorizing certain expenditures from the general fund in the Madison Street, Fifth Avenue Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area Fund to pay for the televising and cleaning of certain sewers and award a contract to low bidder Sewer Tech LLC project televising and cleaning of certain combined sewers for the 2022 capital improvement project. Cover memos dated February 23rd from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins. Does anybody have any questions in regards to this project moving forward so that we can do televising and cleaning? No. Okay. We'll get that added to the omnibus agenda. Discussion and recommendation of adoption of schedule and public hearing date for fiscal year 2022-2023 budget with memo dated February 23rd from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins. So we have April 5th, which would be our first CAL, where it says in advance of the proposed April 5th public hearing and the fiscal year financial 2022-2023. There's enclosed documents, so notice for the public hearing that we need, an agenda for public hearing concerns, as well as an ordinance approving the fiscal year of 2022-2023. Does anybody have any questions in regards to this moving forward? Hearing none, we'll move forward with it accordingly. All right. 13G, draft resolution approving the appointment of village manager Wells Armstrong as budget officer for the village of Maywood with a cover memo dated February 23rd, 2022 from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins. So in looking at the memo that we have from their attorneys, does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Not for moving forward. Trustee Gray?
Yes, so has any of the, so this has not been reviewed or assessed in the policy committee?
The resolution of having a budget office?
Yeah, because I had a question pertaining to one of the items in there about being able to, it stated something to the nature of being able to review or transfer funds without board approval. Is there a certain amount, or are we still talking about that $5,000 threshold?
So the village manager currently has the $5,000 threshold.
No, that was for the attorney.
Attorney Jurzik, if you want to address.
Sure. Yeah, this is just a housekeeping matter. Your village manager is serves as your budget officer, so this doesn't have anything to do with transferring funds among line items. But within your approved budget, there is the ability to transfer, funds within categories if they're broken out in line items, as long as you don't exceed the category that's been approved. So there is some discretion.
And
all this resolution does is track state law, which is adopted in your village code. And this is really just a housekeeping.
Okay, what I was just concerned about was that one piece about without the board approval piece, but okay.
And that's a legitimate discretionary matter. The manager cannot exceed any budgetary line item, but within a budgetary line item, if there are sub-line items, they can move money, to between those line items.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so everybody would be fine with moving that forward to the omnibus agenda at the next board meeting? Hearing no one against that, we'll go ahead and move that forward. All right, so we will go, I need item 18, adjournment of committee of a whole meeting to open a special board meeting. We have no old business, no other matters, no information only, and then we would go into closed session following the special board meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by trustee Sanchez, second by trustee Reyes-Palmer. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez?
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer? Aye. Trustee Jones? Trustee Viper? Trustee Peppers?
Aye.
Trustee Brandon?
Aye.
And Mayor Booker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. So we'll go into 19, commencement of March 1st, 2022, special meeting of the President and Board of Trustees. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez?
Here.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer?
Here.
Trustee Jones? Trustee Viper?
Here.
Trustee Peppers?
Here.
Trustee Brandon?
Here.
And Mayor Booker?
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. 22A, a resolution approving the authorization of executing of the amended agreement between the Village of Maywood, Illinois, and Property Registration Champions, LLC, for assistance with implementation of enforcement of vacant property and foreclosure property registration program. Need a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion by trustee Sanchez, second by trustee Reyes-Palmer. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer. Aye. Trustee Jones. Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
No.
And Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
22B, resolution authorizing a waiver of competitive bid process and approving and authorizing of execution of contract with Lakeshore Recycling Systems, LLC, for the collection and disposal of residential waste, recycling, and certain village-generated waste, term April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2027.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion to approve by trustee Sanchez, second by trustee Lightfoot. Are there any questions? All right, please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones. Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
And Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
22C, resolution of the Village of Maywood in support of tax increment financing.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion to approve by trustee Sanchez, second by trustee Lightfoot. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones. Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
And Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we need a meeting, a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation and probable litigation. Pending litigation. And the purchase or lease of real estate property to be used for the 5 ILCS 120/2C5.
A and D.
Motion to go into closed session.
All right, motion by trustee Reyes-Palmer, second by trustee Lightfoot. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones. Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
And Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Welcome to Maywood again.